values in our children without having the world influence them as much as it can. So first, see this one? My name is Dalia. My husband is right there, Martin. Our children are Teddy and Toby. I am a certified teacher in Alberta, but before that I worked as a scientist. I have a Bachelor's of Science degree and a Bachelor of Education degree, and of course project management as well. But I've had lots of work experience. With God's grace, I was allowed to kind of go between different jobs, which has given me a lot of perspective, different perspective especially in education. I worked in the public school system, in the charter school system, in the private school system, as well as in upgrading at the university level at MacEwan University, where I taught upgrading for high schoolers or adults who are taking high school courses. I also had an amazing opportunity to work as an admission advisor at the University of Alberta. That's basically my job, was taking the transcripts of high school students who are applying to the university, and I could click a button, admit or not admit. So I've seen all the sides of education. I've taught everything from pre-kindergarten, that's 3- and 4-year-old kids in the public school system, all the way to upgrading. And then beyond that, in the post-secondary, where students are applying with their education to get admission for post-secondary. And so with that, you might say, well, you know, who cares? But that's actually a very good experience for me. It was an amazing experience because I am now able to see what things do students need and what does the university look for when they are admitting students from high school. So these are students who have no post-secondary experience. They're coming out from high school, from grade 12, and some of them are homeschoolers. And so I'll give you a little bit more information about that as we go through our talk. So, excuse me. Currently I work as a teacher, so I do teach in the private school system. I teach homeschoolers predominantly in a program where homeschooling students go to a school setting. We actually hold it in a church. And I teach them science, and these homeschoolers will go home for 4 days a week and they will learn with their mom and dad at home. But they come to a school setting for 1 day a week. So I teach in that setting. I also facilitate, so I also serve as a facilitator for my school board, where homeschooling families, I will visit them twice a year in the beginning of the school year, or kind of like this time. So right now I'm doing my visits to homeschooling parents and families. And then again at the end, closer to the end of the school year, and I help them and coach them and mentor them and guide them on their homeschooling journey. And this is something that all homeschoolers who are associated with a school board, they will get a facilitator, a certified teacher like myself, who will come into their homes and help them to set up their homeschooling to really achieve the goals that the parents want to achieve in their homeschool. So this is also good because as a homeschooler, you're not on your own. There is somebody who's connected to the system who can help you along and give you advice and guide you and so on. So we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So this is the agenda of how we're going to go through our talk today. Can everybody see the screens? I don't know why I feel it's really tiny. Okay, you can somewhat see it. Okay, so what is homeschooling? The Coptic Orthodox parents and children. How does homeschooling fit within our concept of education for us as Coptic Orthodox members of the church? Why should we homeschool? And then this is the big one, the myths of homeschooling. Think about, what was I told about homeschooling or homeschoolers? Think about those. We're going to discuss some of them, and it might surprise you. Some of them might surprise you. Biblical foundations. There is biblical foundations to the idea of parents taking on the role of teaching their children. And then how to homeschool in Alberta. So this is the one that is maybe not church related, but it's more of how do you do it if you have decided to homeschool? What should you do? What's your next step? And then finally, we'll have a chance hopefully for questions. So back to you guys. Do you mind if we kind of talk back and forth? If you want the mic, I can pass the mic. What is homeschooling? What do you guys think is homeschooling? Elizabeth, you're not allowed to answer. What do you guys think is homeschooling? Anybody? What do you think it is? Cooking classes from my husband. What do you guys think homeschooling is? It's schooling at home, right? No, what do you think, really? What do you think it is? What do we do as homeschoolers? Like, what is homeschooling? Can you think about? Okay, taking. Okay. So, did you guys hear the first part that Rania mentioned? Taking our kids like out of society. Is that how you would see homeschoolers? Yeah, so removing our kids from society. Well, this is a little bit of it, but it's very, very small, the amount that we take them out of society. It's only the school component. So, does anybody else have anything to say about homeschooling? What it is to you, like what do you see it is? Besma, I know you've been thinking about it. That's very good. Right. Did you guys hear that? Getting to choose what you teach to your kids. Do you think that's important?
So I was right. Cooking.
Yes, cooking. So do you think it's important that you choose what your kids learn? Yes, it is. So Megan is like, yes, it is very important. And it doesn't mean that you're not teaching them something, but you're teaching them what they need to know at the right time. And so homeschooling technically is the parents are taking the responsibility upon themselves to educate their children, not delegating that task to somebody else, not taking it out of their hands and giving somebody else the control, the choice of what your children learn and when. So the parents are taking that upon themselves. Does that make sense? And the teaching is not just academic. What else do your kids learn? What do your kids learn from school? Cooking, okay. Which? Social skills, exactly, social skills. But in our minds, we sometimes think that homeschooling, the kids are so antisocial. How are they going to socialize? Right? We'll talk about that later. But what else can they learn? Social skills, what else? Very good, extracurricular things other than the academics. How about study skills? Are those important for you? Do you want to teach your kids study skills? Do you know 3 kids that have the exact same way of studying? Do you know 3 kids that have the exact same way? Or even 2? Everybody learns in a different way. And you as the parent, when you homeschool, you appeal to the child's desires or their way of learning. Because really, who knows your kids more than you? Who knows them more than you? So I have taught in the public school system, and I often in the beginning of the school year, I'll send out a little form for parents to say, tell me what you want me to know about your kids, because you, other parents, you know more than anybody else. And so me as a teacher in a classroom, I might get a little glimpse, just a little glimpse of what your kids need, or what they have, maybe behavioral issues, but I'm not gonna get the full picture. I'm not there with them all the time. Well, more time in their waking hours, but you know your kids better than anybody else. And so if you know your child doesn't do well in reading, are you going to teach them to study just exclusively by reading their notes or their textbook? No, you're going to find a way that appeals to their learning style. Don't you agree? I don't know how many of you have more than one child, but do you find that your 2 or more children exactly the same? They learn the same way? They deal with you the same way? No. We have 2 boys. They are completely so different from each other in everything that they do, the way they talk, the way they think, the way they learn, very different. And so you as a parent will appeal to each one as they need. You'll feed them as they need. So that's what homeschooling is. You're taking the primary responsibility for educating. Are we good enough for that? Are we good enough to teach our kids? I want to see either this or no. What do you think? Are we good enough to teach our kids? No? Who is? Who is better certified or capable to teach your kids than you? And that's coming from a teacher. Who is better capable of teaching your kids than you? We'll get to that, yes. I will get to that, yes. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. Did any of you, for those of you who already have children, did any of you get a manual with how to raise a child, how to feed them, how to change their diaper? Did you not learn on the go? Did you learn it or not? Did you ever change a child's diaper at 2 o'clock in the morning before you had your own child? Yes. Okay, we'll talk about that too. So Rania was saying that maybe I have some experiences or knowledge in certain aspects academically, but not everything. So maybe I can't teach her the calculus. I'm just saying that's like one of the higher grade 12 ones. Maybe I can't teach her the chemistry or the physics, or maybe I can do the biology, but not. So this is not a concern. I will appeal to that as well when we talk about homeschooling in Alberta for high schoolers especially. What about the earlier years? Do you think you're capable of teaching the children when they're this young? Yeah. Do you think you're more qualified than a stranger who doesn't know your kids? Definitely. Definitely. And I've taught kids as young as 3 in a professional setting, and I've taught adults like up to the 60s and 70s in upgrading. But believe me, nobody knows your own kids more than you. And for them, you wake up in the middle of the night, you sacrifice your sleep, your rest. For them, I'm sure you can learn a little bit of calculus or reclaim your own education from the past to teach them. And even, especially these days, you don't even need to learn it yourself. You'd be surprised how high schoolers, especially if you start from early on when they're this young, how competent and how independent they become homeschooled. They become their own teachers. They will go and seek the knowledge themselves. Yes? ChatGPT. Did you guys hear that? Even if the teachers are working hard, like she's not really. Yeah. Learning, yeah. Yes. Right. Okay, just, sorry, go ahead.
I think like it's just two choices. Parents, one of them staying at home, or the child can be independent and just seek the knowledge by himself.
Okay. I'll get to that. I will get to that. Having, so Ayman, right? So Ayman was saying that either the parents have to, when somebody has to stay home to teach, or the child becomes very independent, which is hard when the kids are still young. But yeah, there is that sacrifice. Somebody has to stay home with them, for sure. But I'll get to that because I want to appeal to that when we're talking about the biblical foundations for why we should homeschool. Okay, I'll get to that point where a parent has to stay home. Okay. All right, so how did homeschooling come about? Well, even before COVID, homeschooling was a thing. Alberta has probably one of the highest percentages of homeschooled students compared to other students in the regular traditional school system. Alberta also is one of the very few provinces that funds or reimburses parents for homeschooling. So before COVID, we had a lot of homeschoolers. But during COVID, I don't know what happened. Well, I know what happened, but you think about it, a lot of families switched to homeschooling. And then if you guys remember a couple of months ago, we had the teacher strike. So my school board, which is very tiny, they saw a rise in requests for homeschooling. And that was because of the instability within the school system because the teachers were on strike for 3 weeks. And that caused a huge gap for students in their learning. And it wasn't the same as when COVID, everybody went online. I was teaching preschool during COVID. And when the schools were closed in March, we had to put everything online. And so that wasn't the optimal. Now we look back, and even the government acknowledges that that wasn't the optimal way for students to learn. They should have been in school if they were to learn, because the online thing didn't work out, especially for the younger kids. Nonetheless, during the teacher strike, there was no online. I think there was a little bit of support, but there wasn't instruction. So we did see another rise in homeschooling, but homeschooling was really the way that it was before schools. People just used to keep their kids, and the kids would learn from mom, from dad, how to be a decent human being, how to, again, this is in the old days, they would take on the family business, whatever it was, farming or whatever. I'm talking like really old days. So homeschooling was the way things used to be done in the old ways anyway. And they survived. They're our ancestors, you know, we're here. Are we, along with our children, stuck in a cultural stigma? This is something that I find always happening. Maybe not with every single Coptic Orthodox family, but because we came from a background of discrimination in our home countries, I feel like sometimes we are discouraged from homeschooling or other different ways of schooling because we're scared our kids will not be successful academically and professionally. And because we came from a culture of discrimination for our faith, I feel like we had to always, I remember my father telling me always, you have to be academically advanced, professionally holding lots of certifications, because in Sudan, where we were born, we were second-class citizens because we were Christians. Do you guys kind of feel for that idea? And same in Egypt, right? And so, yeah, so no matter where you are, as a Christian, you were second-class citizen, and so we had to be academically advanced so that we can elevate our social standing. But in our minds also, we think homeschooling does not lead you to university. Do you guys ever think of that? Homeschooling does not, I'm not gonna get into university if I homeschool. That is not the case. This is so untrue. So we're gonna try and get ourselves free from this stigma that we need to go to university and homeschooling does not get us there. So we're gonna try and remove that from our minds. And this is where I remind you that as a previous admission advisor at the University of Alberta, I have seen the behind the scenes of what students need to get into university. And believe me, they don't even need a high school diploma. Have you guys ever been told you need a high school diploma to go to university? Did you guys get told that? It is wrong. You do not. I want you to go to the University of Alberta calendar, and that's probably one of the highest rated universities in our province. Go look for a requirement, a high school diploma. You do not need a high school diploma to admit to university. That is a lie. But you can still get it if you want to homeschool. So I want you to see that behind the scenes, we're being told stuff that's not really needed. So we'll talk about that in a bit. So as Coptic Orthodox parents, our calling as parents is that we are to shape the next generation. One day, our children, our little ones, even the little ones right there, they'll be the deacons standing here, maybe the priests at the front. They will be the ones leading the church, cleaning the church, taking care of the church. We are to disciple and prepare this next generation. Discipling them means that we teach them and we empower them with the Word of God and, of course, our traditions and our culture, so that they're not moving on to their adulthood being too influenced by the secular world and leaving behind this treasure that we have, which is our faith. So we are to disciple them, to make disciples of them. Facing the unique challenges of today's world. Well, I'm not going to tell you, but there are challenges out there for young people. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. There are a lot of challenges out there in the world. We have to empower them. We have to empower them, and nobody can do that better than you. To empower your kids to face this world without shaking, without wavering, without giving into the world. You guys can do that. That's why God gave them to you. He trusted you with them. So that's what we're going to do. Our children, I always want to challenge you. Can you guys think about, before you had children, what attributes and characteristics did you envision for your kids? What did you want them to be? Sorry? Say that again. Oh, a saint. Oh, you want your kids to be saints. Okay, I haven't thought about that one. Okay, what else? Better than you, yes. What else? Attributes, give me specifics, characteristics. Did you want them to be a social person? A strong person? Holding on to their faith? The person who will stand like Saint Mina or Saint Abanob and say, I will not convert. Right? A saint like that. That's the one you were thinking about, right? Academically advanced? Yes, professional with their own certifications, degrees, and so on, right? Okay, and who knows that vision that you have in your mind? Maybe your spouse, right? Do the teachers in schools know that vision for your kids? Out you go. Who do you think has that vision for your kids other than you? How can you work towards a vision if you don't even know what the vision is? So it's only you that you know in your mind what you want your kids to be. So you're the one who's going to work towards it. Don't delegate that to somebody else and say, Dahlia, can you raise me a saint? Bring them back when you're ready. I want a nice golden halo. Do you see what I mean? It's you who should take that vision to heart and say, this is what I'm going to build towards. This is what I'm going to help my kids to become. Okay, and who do you trust to teach them each of these attributes? I think it's you, right? I wouldn't, if it's something really important, and I'm a control freak, you can ask my husband. If it's something that is really important to me, I'm gonna take care of it. I'm not gonna give it to anybody else. Dishes, I can let go. But if it's something really important for me, I wanna do it. I wanna ensure that it's done right. Do you agree? Is anybody else like me a control freak? Okay. How much quality time do we spend with our children each day? There was a talk, a sermon that I think it was Amba David, or Amba Suryan maybe, that gave in Australia. Yeah, Amba Suryan. He gave in Australia, and he was talking about the family time and so on. And one of the things he mentioned was that on average, the average Coptic Orthodox family spends about 10 quality time minutes with as a family altogether. 10 minutes a day. What do you think about that? That kind of hurts. Your kids only get 10 minutes of quality time with you a day. So what are you imparting to them during those 10 minutes? What are you teaching them? What are you telling them? How are you even given a chance to model the adult, the Christian adult in the world to them in 10 minutes a day? What do you think? Is that enough? I don't think so. But that hit really close to home. Thank you. Thank you for coming. All right, so this is important. With homeschooling, it provides us that extra chance. Oops, there we go. So first, we'll get more quality time if we homeschool. There's less fluff. And as a homeschooling student, you only spend, depending on your age, from 20 minutes a day actually doing academics, all the way up to 5 or 6 hours, depending on the age. Because little kids should not be doing academics too long. They can't do it. In school, what we do is that we fill our day up with fluff. Do you guys know what fluff is? You're smiling. She's like, yeah, I know what fluff is. We fill up our day in a school. If you can think of having a little one in school for, let's say, is he in kindergarten yet? No? Okay, so let's say a 5-year-old in kindergarten. And kindergarten is only about 3 hours a day, 2.5, 3 hours a day. Do you think the child can sit there for 2.5 to 3 hours a day with academic, teaching them the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s? No way. So what do? We just play around. We do playing all the time. Academics is very small. For high schoolers, and I have taught in high school as well, you can't expect them to sit there for too long. Their brains will start steaming after a while. So after an hour, they need a break. And that's why there's breaks and so on. But typically, a homeschooled high schooler would not be sitting doing academics for more than maybe, let's say, 5 hours a day. After that, they have to go and do other stuff. As a homeschooler, it gives them a chance to do things like learn the church traditions, learn the church history. You'd be surprised how these homeschoolers fill up their time with very useful stuff, not fluff. History, church dogma, and theology, and so on. Children's learning is the primary responsibility of the parents. In Deuteronomy, and I'll get to that again later on, it says that you should be teaching your children the words of God all day, every time that you're in, you're out, you're at home, you're outside, you should be teaching them all the time. So this is actually out of the Bible. Reclaiming your educations. This is the one that I was mentioning earlier, Rania. Yeah, tfaddali. So we can learn with the children. And actually, you know what? That's been proven to show that it reduces the chances of dementia and Alzheimer's. If you keep learning, keep your brain active. So if I have forgotten, and I do this now with our kids, when I forget how to do, I don't know, the flow of current or whatever, you know, with the finger, and you turn the wires. Do you remember that in physics? I have to remind myself. I took that, but I forgot. So I'm going to remind myself so I can explain it to my son. And also, you'd be surprised how much learning you can get from the Khan Academy or YouTube or anything like that, that you can relearn these things. The engineers are laughing at me because, you know, I have to review it again. Prepare them to face the world first. I want to give you a small example. I've heard many people say, how am I going to help my kids learn how to deal with the world outside if I keep them at home? I'm going to give you a small example. Have you guys ever seen those little plants that you can buy in the greenhouses in spring? Like the flowers and so on. And they say to you, when you're planting them outside, get them used to the outside a little bit at a time. So the kids are like that. They are fragile. So we need to empower them. We need to strengthen them first before we send them out to this cold world out there. And so how can you send them out at a very young age to deal with the words that they might hear, the things that are contrary to your own beliefs before you've instilled strength in them? So that's what you need to do, is first strengthen them and then send them out to the world. So you're controlling the learning environment, you're teaching them what they need, when they need it. And then the siblings actually become close. So for those of you who have more than one child, you will be surprised how these kids will become each other's best friends, the siblings, the brothers and sisters, which is great because we don't see that much in the world anymore. You have a choice of what they learn and when they learn it. Are they ready to learn about the different things that are going on in the world? If they're not, then you are the best judge of that, and you keep it till when they are ready to learn. And you know what I'm talking about, the things that may be too advanced, but kids are still being exposed to it. So you decide, when is your child ready to learn about something? This is actually a sacrifice, and Amba Yusuf refers to it often, that this is a sacrifice from the parents. I reach hearts by cooking meals, washing sheets, and fluffing pillows. This was a saying that was shared between the Coptic Orthodox homeschoolers group, but literally, the person who stays at home, even though they are maybe overloaded with work, but they are literally having the privilege of washing feet every day by lowering themselves to do the hard stuff, the stuff at home. So I'm not going to read that whole thing. I think we're running a little bit out of time. So more reasons, the customized learning pace. You can actually achieve advanced learning for your homeschoolers. Am I too loud? You can have your child be in a grade 9 level, but they're learning the grade 11 and 12 level. You can do that. It depends on what you set up for your homeschool and how your child is ready to receive. If your child is able to learn at the higher grade, teach them. Why not? And so you can get curriculums from different parts which have the higher level compared to Alberta Learning. And actually, most of the homeschooling curriculums I've encountered, I'm sure with you, Elizabeth, as well, they are at a higher level compared to the grade level in Alberta. So a homeschooler typically is getting advanced academics compared to a schooled student, a traditionally schooled student. Can you teach your students languages at home? Yes. There is actually, believe it or not, there is Christian Arabic schools that you can enroll your kids in online and teach them Arabic at home. And it's like Christian Arabic. Christ-centered approach, a lot of the curriculums you can get for homeschooling are Christian curriculums, and Christ is at the center of them. And then the biggest thing is stronger family bonds, to have very strong family bonds, because you're spending all the time with your kids. I've heard somebody once said, I can't tolerate my kids. There is a problem there. If we can't tolerate our own kids, there is a serious problem. But having that time together, we learn and we teach them. We learn, like we ourselves are learning, and we're teaching them as well. This is a saying from Vodi Bucam, I think. Have you heard of him, Elizabeth? Yeah. So this gentleman was a pastor in the Protestant churches, but he was a huge advocate of homeschooling. And I think he had 9 kids, if I'm right, and all of them were homeschooled. And he said, we cannot continue to send our children to Caesar for their education and be surprised when they come home Romans. So apply that to our setting now. What you send out, like who is receiving your kids, that's what you expect to get back, is that person that was shaped by the people that you sent them to. And I'm saying that as a teacher, right? Because I have views of what a child should be doing or listening to. The simplest thing is in a class, I as a teacher decide which videos am I going to put on for my students to watch. Who do you want to make that choice? A stranger that doesn't know your values, your beliefs, not YouTube. And certainly, whatever the kids watch, they get influenced by it. So you want to be the one who controls what your children are being exposed to, I hope. So some of the myths, this is the big one, socializing. Many people say, I don't want my kids homeschooled because they're going to be antisocial. Well, that is not true. And tell me, how much socializing do we get when we have a child with 30 other kids their own age and one teacher? Is that really the socializing that you want? I mean, for all of you in the workplace, do you only socialize with people your own age? Do you? Do you ask the person, are you my age? Am I going to talk to you today? No. You have to learn how to deal with every age group. And in homeschool, I was just saying to Megan, actually, when we went to the retreat last year to the Coptic Orthodox homeschoolers in Ontario, because yeah, there's more of us. the kids, it's amazing how the kids just kind of sit together in groups regardless of what age they are. From the very young ones to the oldest ones, the high school kids. And they sit there and they chat together and they have an amazing time. They're not going to say, well, I'm not going to talk to you because you're older. I don't want to deal with you because you're boring and younger. No, it's amazing the community that they form because they're used to being with all sorts of ages. And I'm glad that even our kids, they'll be able to come up to somebody who's older in the church and they will, greet them and say hello and talk. Because there isn't that mentality of, I only see people my age. Do you guys see the difference? So post-secondary admission, this is very possible. As a homeschooler, you can get a high school diploma if you wish, and you can even get it earlier if you do your academics, if you focus on your academics, and really homeschooling is what you as a parent make it. You can indeed get a high school diploma. You can do all your grade 12 stuff, and you can certainly apply to university. There is no hindrance, especially here in Alberta. It's even easier than other provinces. Parents can't teach their own kids. We dealt with that. That is not true. God gave you this authority and this power and the grace to teach your own kids, and He will provide for you that ability when the right time comes. Trust Him. And you did it already. You already went through high school, I'm assuming, and everybody's probably got a post-secondary degree. So you've done this before. Both parents work. So that's somebody had commented, both parents work. I will tell you something that is really hard, and this is where it takes you out of your comfort zone. Every time that your child starts school, your oldest starts school, do you have to modify your lifestyle? So for those of you you had to, right? Even if your child doesn't go to before and after school care, there is a getting out that we didn't have to do before. There are times when the mom, if she's working, she has to make sure there's dinner for later when they come home, right? And the shopping has to be done, and all of that when I'm working. So there are changes that have to be made. The same thing with homeschooling. It's just the changes are different. And sometimes your lifestyle might take a different look. Indeed, when the kids are younger, a parent has to stay home. Usually it's the mom. But there is a compromise that has to be made. And I'll tell you something, the savings that you have as a family, the savings you make, the savings that you save, when not both parents are out of the house, these savings kind of make up for the fact that there isn't that second income. And it's unfortunate that now society has pushed us into, with such inflation, life is so expensive. You need the second, but you know what? If you reduce your expenses and the savings that you make without the before and after school care, the gas to go and come back, the eating out because I didn't have enough time to make dinner today, all of these things, they add up. And maybe you delegate certain things to other people to do. But now if you take on that role, you will be saving a lot of money. And so it just takes a little bit of tweaking in your lifestyle to make it work. And if you really want it and you prioritize your children's education and their upbringing in the Christian, like Christ-centered focus, you would make it work. We all can make it work. And one of the things that we often think about is the final day, when God is judging. He's not going to come and say, how much money did you make? How big was your house? What model was your car? That's not what He's going to ask you. He's going to say, where are the little ones I entrusted you with? Did you bring them back?
So one major factor for us, for our family, and Dali is a pretty organized person at home, and one of the things that affected us or brought the vision clearer to our family was basically chaos in the morning when we have to get ready for school and we have to drop them off or have to prepare lunches or whatever, or homeworks, bags, whatever, dress, make sure they're ready for the weather outside, they have all their gear and whatnot. And then the same scenario on an opposite aspect coming back home. And then when you come back home, you now, after her and I were working, you come back home, now you have to put all that aside and you have to be a parent at home. You have to focus for feeding them, helping with the homework, making sure everything is ready. And amongst all of that, with that chaos in mind, amongst all of that, in your mind as you're doing all these activities, you still think, I want to spend some quality time with the kids, because the whole week is like that. And comes the weekend is sometimes even busier than the weekdays. So once the kids have to go to bed early. So there is only a small amount of time, and in that small amount of time, you're totally worn out. Your mind is thinking probably about all of that, plus your job that you had to take care of, and whatever is going to hit you the next day or whatever you encounter today. So these were all major factors, and the realization of the busyness of the lifestyle took away the family portion from this life. So when we realized that the kids are basically aching for spending time with mama and baba and all of that, and we're not able to provide them that because we have to take care of everything else, that hit hard. So these are important aspects that I think if you have one child, it's a problem. If you have two kids or more, it's a bigger problem. So most of the time, like Dalia mentioned, one parent has to somehow sacrifice and spend that quality time with the kid, because as the kids grow, and our boys, for example, now are growing and like, yeah, they're growing like weed. So nonetheless, like what I was saying is, they grow so fast, and the quality time that you're supposed to spend with them and nurture them with is lost. And then you realize all of a sudden you have a young man or a young daughter standing right beside you in church, and they're influenced by their friends and their peers and whatever, maybe at church, maybe at school, wherever they are, and your influence on them was extremely insignificant. So if they don't pick from, all the kids are intelligent. In my eyes, and probably Dalia's eyes, every single child is extremely intelligent. They absorb everything like a sponge. Exactly. But then, like Dalia was mentioning, you change your lifestyle. You change your lifestyle. As your kid grows, as your children grow, you're changing your lifestyle to accommodate them, because they are a major component of the family unit, right? So if they're important for you as a parent, which I hope everybody that's here thinks the same, then you will make that change. You will make that sacrifice.
You can do without. Right, right.
Then to balance what to leave and what to pick, that's going to be up to you.
Well, in fire. Oh, wait, wait. Okay. Did you guys hear? Everybody heard that? Okay, so how do you shape the child before? I see you're smiling. Do you want to answer this one?
So I was homeschooled myself until high school, and now we are homeschooling our kids. And that was a decision we made before we even had kids and before COVID and all of that. But just to answer your question, when the potter makes something with the clay, do they fire it? They just take a lump of clay and they fire it and that's it? No, you have to shape it. So the children are the same. When they're young, when they're impressionable, when they're learning, when they're developing their worldview, that's when they're being shaped. And what do you want? Shaping them before it's fired, before it's set.
Because once it's fired, you can't shape it without breaking it. But with the iron, you have to fire it first, to shape, to even to know how the people, other people thinking and what they think. How can I?
But it comes in a. No. is she? Right. So that's we're talking about seasons, right? There's seasons, there's periods in childhood development where they internalize the worldview, and then there's seasons where they challenge it, right? And so it's important to recognize those seasons, and they will find the opportunities. The world will find the opportunities to challenge them. I was homeschooled until high school. My grade 10 biology teacher told me if I didn't believe that I went to Christian high school, my biology teacher in front of the whole class said, if you don't believe the way we believe, you will go to hell. Straight in front of me, like, being homeschooled does not stop you from being challenged, right? It helps you to develop that strong foundation in order to be able to meet those challenges when they do come, right? And so it's like we don't need to turn our 5-year-olds into theologians, right? When you have a teacher, especially when the power differential is so different between a 5-year-old and a teacher, for example, right? They're in a very, very authoritative, very influential position in that child's life. And if that's where they're spending the majority of their waking hours, who is going to be speaking into that worldview that child? Is it going to be the parents who have 10 minutes of quality time with their child every day? Or is it going to be with the teacher who has 8 hours with your child every day? Right? So, right.
So, sorry, Rana, and I can clearly see your point 100%. So, anyway, there's a lot of servants here in this church, right? So, you have to remember, none of us knew exactly what we were doing when we were called into service, okay? We had no idea, so we all believe that the Holy Spirit works within us, okay? And it speaks when it's time. So, we should never be worried about something like that when it comes to your faith and your conviction. Okay, you put the knowledge in her. The rest is not your job.
He'll come from.
So our fear from your aspect, our fear for something like this is that me taking God's job. And if I take God's job, then I'm leaving my role and getting into something bigger that it's not supposed to be for me, right? So we have things that as parents or servants, we have things that we are capable of, and even when we think we're capable of, we're not capable of it. We pray about it day and night so that
God covers our
hopefully 1 out of
weaknesses.
10 will be correct, So we do the best of our ability, and the rest
It's to God.
is all in God's hands. So now, when your child grows to be 18 or whatever, you're not going to be listening to everything they do or watching everything they do, because now they're going out to the world and exploring and doing things on their own, right? But as a parent, you can sleep at night knowing that you have fed her the basics. Okay? Yeah.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
yeah, and then you just pray
That's it.
as a parent.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Right. Yeah.
So exactly, that's it. I'll get to your question. I know you have a question. That's exactly it. You being the one, and I'm just saying that, again, full disclosure, homeschooling is not for everyone. It's not for everyone. Some people, it may not work for them, depending on their family situation. But if you can do it, it is the best way that you are the one who's asking that child, what's bothering you? How can I help you? Not some stranger behind a desk outside. So if you can form that relationship with your child, and if you guys remember Dr. Mamalakis when he was here earlier this year, talking about the connections, nowadays we are too busy to make connections with our kids. We are too busy because we're rushing, because I have to have the lunches ready for tomorrow, because I have to have my presentation ready. We're too busy to have that connection time and form those relationships with our kids. And then what happens is later on when they come back with the weird ideas, they're like, where did you hear that? Where'd you get that from? Well, I wasn't there. It's no wonder. I sent my kids to Caesar and I'm getting back Romans. It's no wonder. But if you can be the one, I mean you and you know the parents, the two parents, if you can be the one that the kids always come back to, you can make the time within your busy schedule to have that connections with them, to form the relationships. That's great, that's great. But what we're saying is that homeschooling really allows you for that. And you are the primary person in their life, shaping them the way that you wanted your kids to look like before you even had them. Because nobody else knows that vision but you. That's all I'm saying. You wanted to say something earlier? If you remember.
So yeah. So in Egypt, for example, for example, like in Egypt, they don't involve children students in group work because the jobs there is no group work in the jobs. So here in Canada it's the opposite. So if we get the children homeschooling, it's just I'm worried that they miss this part of group working. Then they get involved in their career in the future, and they get struggling having a teamwork with someone else.
Right, I wanted to ask questions. Yeah. Right. Okay, I just wanted to appeal to that. That's an important one. Ayman was saying about group work. And of course, back home in Sudan and Egypt, I think that's where most of us are from. In Sudan and Egypt, we don't have a lot of chance to work with groups. And back home, our focus in school was academics. Here in Canada, the focus is on soft skills. So people who are going to be, and I'll give you this insider info, the people who apply to university for medicine, they're not looking just at your marks. I've seen a lot of students with a 4.0 average, that's like excellence, like that's top of the top. They get refused for medicine. Do you know why? They're looking for what you're doing outside of the books. They don't want you just to be a bookworm. So in Canada, the focus is on soft skills. How do you deal with people? Do you smile when you greet someone? Like that's soft skills. Can you relate to people when you're talking to them? In homeschooling, you would be surprised how much kids get that aspect more than in school. And you think that in school, because, well, they see the kids every day, they're only seeing kids their own age every day. Even within recess and stuff, the kids are only playing with their own age group. They don't know how to deal or to talk to someone who's older or younger. But again, in the homeschooling community, you would be surprised how the older kids naturally mold into a mentor for younger kids, not just their siblings. And the younger kids naturally look up to the older kids. It's amazing. And I cannot describe it to you if you don't actually see it. I wish I could take you all to the retreats, the Coptic Orthodox homeschooling retreats, to see these interactions. It is phenomenal. And for me as a teacher who has seen years and years of grade level kids only stuck together, it is such an atmosphere to see that the kids are all they're kids. And they don't care how old you are or what you're doing. They don't care. They're just entertaining, and they're involving each other, and they're just benefiting from each other. So within your homeschooling network, and that's the other thing, is when you do start homeschooling, you need to reach out and start connecting. And in my mind, I'm thinking, if we get more homeschooling families, God willing, I would love to start a co-op for our homeschoolers in our church. I would love that. I don't know if any of you knew about the Campion homeschooling co-op that was in our church for a couple of years, but that's something we can do. If we have enough people, enough families, we can certainly start a co-op. Yes, sir. For older kids? This is the thing. For which? You know what? Honestly, Mina, I regret not having our kids homeschooled from the beginning. It is a great regret to me. It is much better if you start from the get-go, but it is never too late.
But now, like having like 8 and 9,
Yeah.
obviously
It depends on what you start your homeschooling like, what you make it, what you shape it, what's your vision for it, and how you start carrying it out, and it depends on the child. And so one of the things I said, if you're ready to homeschool or take it on, check with your team. You know, in project management, team management, yeah, check with your team. Is your team ready? Are we ready to do this? And then you're not alone. You get a facilitator like myself, somebody who'll come into your home and help you set up everything. It is way easier with the younger kids, but it's not impossible with the older kids. Depends on how the child receives it. It's very doable. We started homeschooling Teddy when he was in grade 5, middle of grade 5. But it takes a little bit, like as with everything, when you start it new, it takes a little bit of adjustments at home. Everybody has to adjust. And dad is a big component, especially for boys. The dad's role in the homeschooling community, in homeschooling home, is very important, especially for boys, because you want to teach them how to be a man. I can't teach them that. And so that goes back to the dad. And so some of the homeschoolers, what they do if they're able to, is as soon as your son is old enough, take him to work, show him what work is like, what it's like to get your hands dirty, what you have to tolerate as a man. School kids cannot do that. They can't do that, right? So this is how. It's easier with younger kids, but it is certainly doable with older kids. It is certainly doable. I'm just going to go quickly over how, in Alberta, how we do it. And then I'll get to your questions. Biblical foundations, we talked about Deuteronomy. So first of all, if this is something you would like to consider, pray about it. Pray. Involve God in every decision that you make. Pray about it. Get your team together. Is everybody on board? This is what we would like to do. Share your vision with your family so that we're all working towards the same goal. And then you decide on a homeschool authority. And if anybody in church has any questions about that, let me know and I'll share with you what homeschooling authorities are out there and how you look at differentiate between them, because the homeschooling authority will be, it's like a school board. And they will be overlooking your homeschooling and sending you a facilitator like myself to help guide you. And once you decide on one, because each one offers different things for your kids. So you might have a shared responsibility program like the one we attend 1 day a week, and we teach them science and physical education and art and drama. Or you might want not to do that and you want to just teach them the whole day. So I will show you, if you have questions, let me know and reach out, and I will show you how to decide which homeschooling board is the best for you. And then you complete your notification form. You just let the government know, I'm not going to send my kids to public or private or Christian schools or whatever it may be. I'm going to educate them at home. I'm going to take the responsibility. The government, once they know, they will be able to subsidize or basically reimburse you for some of your expenses for homeschooling. So every year you get about $900. And it's not much, but it helps with certain aspects, of course. And even your internet at home can be used as part of the subsidy. And then you plan your curriculum. So this is again where the facilitator will help. You can choose the curriculum. There's lots of them out there. Many of them are way more advanced than the Alberta Learning Curriculum. But the great thing is, if you start, let's say your child is in grade 5 and you start them on a grade 5 level curriculum, if your child is able to go ahead to grade 6 before grade 5 is done, let's go. Let's go. What's holding them back? They don't have to wait for everybody else in class because they are the class. If your child needs a little bit more time to understand, let's say, multiplication or division, take the time. That's why you took time off for them. They deserve that time. And then you solidify them, and you'll be surprised how later on they flourish. And this has been proven time and time and time again. When a student is struggling with something and you take the time to teach them, give them that time to deal with their struggles, you would be surprised how they flourish in that same struggled aspect. I have seen this in particular with girls who are learning to read. For some odd reason, girls struggle with reading sometimes, but then once they give them the time and they learn that concept, they fly afterwards. You can't hold them back. You can't provide them enough books to give them, but just give them that time. So you customize that up to your children's needs. And then you plan a schedule, build a community, find other homeschoolers and connect. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to? I have a QR code if you want to.
On the second last point that Dalia mentioned, actually, how your kids can actually, as I mentioned earlier, kids are incredibly intelligent, and I'm sure everybody knows their own kids, what they're capable of or not. And in one of our homeschooling gatherings, I saw a mom punish her 2 daughters by taking the books away because they're just reading books like crazy. Their punishment was taking away the books from them because they've been and books, I kid you not, I saw the box and I said, even in my older age, I'd read a book this big and I feel good. They were reading books about this thick. They finished 4 books in 3 days. And I said, where do they get the time to sit and read all of that? Oh, because their reading skills is incredible and they're flying through them. And I thought that one sister is telling a summary to the other sister, but no, after they were reading, they were discussing the book that they read together, and arguing about what the story was supposed to be like and what they got out of it. So to me, that was a very incredible thing to witness, from like thick novels, 4 books in 3 days. So again, depends on the ability of the child, and they might not be strong readers, but they might be good in mathematics or sciences or anything else like that. So do not think that they don't have that capability unless, God forbid, they have an issue that they need to be attended to or whatever, right?
So we switched to homeschooling mid-year. We switched in January. In Alberta, you're allowed to do that. You might miss out on like some of the funding for homeschooling if you go to the middle of the year. Oh no, you go back to the grade according to the age. In homeschooling, however, yeah, in homeschooling in Alberta, you have to declare a grade, but it's not necessarily the grade with the age. So if my child is doing really, really well, he's only, let's say, grade 5, according to Alberta's entry into the schools, but he's doing like a grade 7 curriculum, I can make him, because I am the primary educator, I'm the principal, I'm everything. So I can put on his records, if I wish, that he's a grade 7 student. And that will help him graduate early if he wishes. But then if I do that and later on he needs the time to catch up with something, I might lose the funding later on. Again, these things, your facilitator would help you, would guide you with that, the pros and cons of going in and out or changing. You can change the grade, it's up to you. And this is what I love. We're so blessed in Alberta because that is, the government has given us that authority. I don't know if any of you kind of follow some of the politics, but the government right now wants to empower you as the parent to be the one that decides for your kids everything. Yes, I can show you. So if you want to, well, you have my number, but sure, we can talk about how to choose the best homeschooling board that suits your needs. Okay, anybody else have any questions? I checked my slide on, there's no questions. Any questions? I have no questions on here. Okay, so I just wanted to show you, unfortunately the video doesn't work, but I wanted you to see that there are other homeschooling Coptic Orthodox families, like we're not the only ones. This picture, if you see there, is Amba Yusuf, in Florida, in the homeschooling retreat, which is a big one. He was talking to the homeschoolers and the families on how he calls homeschooling a, what did he call it? The sacred responsibility of homeschooling. And so the church is fully on board with this. And I wish I can tell you and show you how many people have chosen to homeschool. We have a homeschooling group on Signal for the families who homeschool, and there's about 100 families on there. This is from Canada and the US. So it is certainly growing. It is certainly very possible. One of our families shared recently how their youngest child has just been admitted to university after being homeschooled all their life. And you know, that joy is shared amongst all of the community. So it's great, it's doable. It's very, very doable. There's nothing that prevents your child from going to university. All it takes, honestly, is a little bit of sacrifice from the financial side. It's a little bit of sacrifice, but I think they're worth it. They really are worth it. And I wanted to mention, you said about work. For mothers who are homeschooling, you would be surprised how many moms will find a way, and even that finding a way teaches your kids how resourceful they can be. I know moms who work from home, so I teach part-time. I also facilitate part-time, so I'm trying to make it work for my family, so I don't lose my own, you know, sanity as well, but also for because I worked so hard for my career. But there are moms who, I know a mom who teaches dance while homeschooling. She has her own studio. I know a mom who teaches dance in schools while homeschooling. I know a mom who teaches sewing from her home, sewing and crafts. I know a mom who does, like, they work from home. You find a way, and you would be surprised what your kids learn from seeing how resourceful you are. Do you see what I mean? It's not just a matter of, I'm going to the office, you have no idea what's happening in my office, but teach the kids what is it to find a way to make things work. That is a life skill, right? Okay, anybody else have any questions? Elizabeth, did you want to say anything? Elizabeth has way more experience homeschooling than me. Nothing? We're good? Thank you so much for coming. Thank you everyone for making the time. Thank you for coming. I will put up my information so you can... Yes, sir. Oh, I wish I knew 10 years ago. Okay. Me too. You know, I know. I will tell you something. The new, yeah, the new families. The younger families, right? Yes. 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 And you know, the thing that turns us away is the fear that our kids will not go to university. They won't be the engineers, the doctors, the pharmacists. They can still do that. And you know what? They can do it even earlier. If they're capable of, they can even do it earlier. I know a lot of kids in school, and again, this is not the opinion of my workplace or anything, my employer, but I know a lot of kids in school who are being held back because they're stuck in their grade, but they are way more capable than their grade level, and they're stuck there. They can't go forward, they can't even do the extra work, so they sit in class stuck, literally stuck. In homeschooling, you shape it the way your kids need you to shape it. You don't shape it according to your, just, I'm gonna keep them in grade whatever, regardless of what they're capable of doing. No, you give them whatever. And as Abu Narwais once told me, like you feed the child what they're capable of eating. If he's able to eat a steak, you're gonna give him a steak. If he can only eat like a little potato tater, you give them that, you feed them according, but who knows that better than you? Who knows that's what your child needs more than you? And unfortunately, society has told us that we are incapable, we're not good enough, we don't know enough. Yeah, but come tell me that when they're only 2 days old and I'm changing their diaper, or I am trying to learn how to breastfeed, or I'm trying to learn how to swaddle. Nobody came and told me you're not capable. So why are you telling me that now? They're my kids, right? And so you are capable, and the grace of God will cover all of the weaknesses that we may think we have. And so I encourage you, if that is something that you think you can make it work for your family, get in touch with me. I would love to guide you in the process. This is the retreat that is going on that will be planned for in Florida in June. I'm putting advertising. I hope Abuna Maurice appreciates. We're putting advertising. And so we're going to be doing a retreat in Florida, God willing. Our family's planning to go. Are you guys planning to go? We'll see. Okay. But you went last year. How was it? Okay. Oh, in Georgia. Okay. Florida. Yeah, yeah.
The problem we have as homeschoolers is it's been largely dominated by the Protestant communities, which they've done a lot of great things, but it's hard, it's like you can align on homeschooling, but not necessarily on all matters of the faith, and some of those matters can become very contentious, especially when you're involved in a lot of groups and stuff together. And so it's such a blessing and a privilege to be able to come together with families where you share both. And that, that camaraderie and that, that fellowship, and for the kids as well. Because even, like for us and our experience, it's like our children, because they've homeschooled, look at life very differently than kids that have grown up in the public school. And even within the church, that can lead to conflicts, right? And so for them to be able to spend time with other Coptic, Orthodox, homeschooled kids is just as much a blessing for the kids as it is for us as the parents.
And the setting is nice. It's in Florida, but it's in June. Hot. Okay, so I'm just going to put up my contact details. If you want to take a picture of it, there's my number and my email. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I apologize that we went over the time allotted, but if you do have any questions, or if you do want to make the jump and you would like guidance on how to choose the school board or any other information about homeschooling, I've been blessed that I've had the opportunities to work in this field for quite a bit. So please reach out. I would love to facilitate your entry into the homeschooling realm. And glory be to God forever and ever. Amen. Thank you.